The Western Cape fruit and wine industries have suffered huge losses of late due to drought and fires, the extent of which was revealed at a committee briefing on agriculture last week. The DA's Beverly Schaefer joins us in studio this afternoon to tell us a bit more. Beverly, thank you very much for coming in to studio and give us some numbers.
All right, so I think what was very concerning was that we weren't quite sure as a standing committee really what we're dealing with when people talk about drought. You know, it's something that's virtual and hasn't really been measured or been said to us, particularly as a committee. And the hort grow industry, or let's say the industry representing the fruit farmers, specifically came out with large numbers of 720 million rand. And that's over the short period of time that we've experienced the drought. They remember that there's 87,000 agri-workers that are involved. A lot of them are seasonal farm workers, about 347,000 dependents within those numbers. And then of course Vinpro, which represents the wine industry, we're talking at about another 180,000 agri-workers in that industry. So the two are very are prominent, dominated by sometimes our very poorest of communities, and we were very concerned as a committee that there would be significant job losses relating to the drought crisis we find ourselves in.
Now, Beverly, you are wanting national government to declare the area a disaster area.
Yes.
Why has this not been done yet, in your opinion?
So two things that we are in a process of national government is declaring the West Coast and the Central Karoo area as disaster areas. That has to still be promulgated and gazetted, and that is a process. Only until after gazetting will some money come out from national, and then of course the farmers are waiting in earnest for that. But I know that there's been a call for the whole of South Africa to be called a national disaster area, and we challenge government to do that because there are many areas across South Africa that are in really serious dire straits.
What sort of criteria need to be met for something to qualify, for a region to qualify as a disaster area? What is it based on exactly?
I think it's statistics. I think it's rainfall. I think it's a combination of numbers. It would depend on the kind of produce that is being grown there, whether it's livestock. I mean, you find areas where there's 40,000 livestock have died in other parts of South Africa. So they will determine it based on a history of agricultural produce and growth in the area.
Maybe the knock-on effects then in terms of, I guess, like wine production, obviously the prices are going to shoot up. But then, like you said, for the poorest of the poor, basic living costs. And what about employment, the farmers that are already in the red? What's going to happen to them?
I think that's the key challenge. For example, the Western Cape government at the moment is focusing on the 30 grain emerging farmers that they've invested in, that national government has invested in. They're the most at risk because we don't want the emerging farmers in particular to suddenly go under when government has spent a large money amount on land reform and land reform projects supporting these farmers. So what the Western Cape government is doing is out of their own, although it's not their mandate. They're paying about 6,000 rand per household, about 1,800 rand per agri-worker to those 30 grain farmers to assist them going forward for about 6 months until such time that we can get sufficient income. And that's just in one small area. But I think what's very important is that we can't see this just being the responsibility of one organization, just of government or just of the private sector. This has to be a holistic approach. We all have to be part of this. As you've seen with Operation Hydrate, it has to have private sector coming in. We've got the banks to come in because people are heavily insured or not and are losing millions on farms. We have to support our farmers in order to support our agri-workers, in order to support food security.